Hello and welcome to Psyched, the show where we explore psychedelics through social, economic, and political perspectives. Our next speakers. So next up, we have Hayim Raklaw. Hayim is an adventurous business leader driven by the double bottom line of doing well financially and doing good in the world. He's experienced in international business development and financing and has spent his 20-plus-year career building global healthcare companies. Recently, Hayim led iCAN's Incubator and took the helm at PsyTech in February 2020. He'll be interviewed by Lynn Marie Morski. Lynn Marie Morski is a Mayo Clinic-trained physician in family medicine and sports medicine, as well as an attorney and former adjunct law professor. She hosts the Plant Medicine podcast, is the founder of plantmedicine.org, and serves as medical director of marijuanabreak.com. Dr. Morski worked at the Veterans Administration for 9 years, and her biggest frustration during that time was that she was unable to discuss the benefits of many medications she knew could help the veterans she was serving, like cannabinoid treatments and psychedelic-assisted therapy. Dr. Morski practiced medicine for 14 years, and after leaving clinical medicine, she made it her mission to help fill the gap in the medical community's knowledge of psychedelics by educating her fellow physicians on the plant medicines and entheogens that could bring life-changing relief to their patients, while also educating potential users on what options they could seek for treatment of their conditions beyond the pharmaceutical they're sold on commercials. In furtherance of this mission, she started the Plant Medicine podcast to bring scientific researchers, practitioners, and those who have been personally affected by the healing powers of these plants together to help educate the public on what is possible and help further research and decriminalization of these substances. Lastly, she also founded plantmedicine.org to serve as a repository of information and resources for those seeking to learn more about these medicines. Lynn and Hayim, welcome to Psyched.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marek.
Sorry, I didn't know you got like the 20-minute version of my bio. I apologize to everybody who had to sit through that. I am Lynn Marie Morski. I have the pleasure today of interviewing PsyTech CEO Hayim Raklaw. Hayim, we're going to start by talking a little bit about what PsyTech is and why it was founded.
First of all, I'd like to start by saying after that introduction, I really should be interviewing you, but we'll go with this in this way. Thank you for the question. Marek, thank you for your organization for hosting the event and the kind introduction. What is PsyTech? Well, you can think of PsyTech as having two mutually reinforcing divisions in it. The first we refer to as PsyTech Connect, and the purpose of PsyTech Connect is to build a community. Very much what Psyched is doing, and frankly, the more of these kind of events, the more people are drawn in, the more these efforts destigmatize, the better. The purpose of PsyTech's community is to bring together the people that are driving the innovation in this sector. So that means the researchers, that means the clinicians, that means most assuredly the advocates, people involved in public policy. And certainly the people who know how to build ventures, nonprofit or for-profit, good managers and financiers. When those people are brought together, and it's a self-selecting group, the sector is moved forward. So we do that via a webinar series. We do that via the PsyTech Summits. We just had the first one a couple of weeks ago. The next one is coming up in the fall. And we intend on doing them every quarter. Our next webinar is next week, focused on technology, for example. We also are building an online community, and we're going to have a regional chapter sort of structure. So stay tuned for what PsyTech Connect is doing. Now, as the community evolves, as it matures, we want to help the best ideas the best research, the best nascent companies, the best more mature companies advance their missions. And for that purpose, we built the other half of PsyTech, which is PsyTech Discovery. So we will identify impactful and innovative organizations and companies, and we will advance their agenda. And we can do that through many different ways, given the team that we've assembled at PsyTech, and also given the group of advisors and the network that wants to be involved in this space. So, for example, the first two projects in PsyTech Discovery are both focused on education. The first is focused initially on general public education, in which we'll be releasing later in the summer online courses for, well, for anybody who's read Michael Pollan's book and wants to take the next step in identifying exactly how these miraculous molecules can help them or their loved ones, whether it's dealing with mental pathology or health and wellness. So it's PsyTech education. The second project in Discovery is focused on something that Benjamin Kaplan mentioned in his discussion a moment ago, and that's ketamine. And there's a surging interest in ketamine for prescribers, for doctors like yourself. So we're right now initiating a research project for ketamine-assisted therapy for particular protocols. And we're then going to be providing ketamine therapy research, ketamine therapy coursework for physicians specifically, where you'll learn the pharmacology, the physiology, the therapeutic protocols, the integration and follow-up thereafter. And we'll also be providing tools, including something in software, which I'll be talking about the next time I get interviewed. And I shouldn't leave this question without saying that I'll put up in the chat my email as well as info@psytech.biz. Any good ideas deserve to be heard. So with the description of PsyTech Connect and PsyTech Discovery, you can see how one reinforces the other. That's PsyTech.
And can you tell us a little bit about the why behind PsyTech was formed, and then maybe a little bit about what drove you personally to want to be part of that?
Sure. PsyTech was born by three founders that were all involved with a company called iCAN, which stands for Israel Cannabis, here in Israel. iCAN is well known to anybody in the cannabis sector for its global event called Cannatech. iCAN also had an incubator. And the model was very much what I described, but for cannabis. I recently moved to Israel about 2 years ago with my wife and children. Previous to that, I was in Toronto. Previous to that, I was in the United States, where I was born and raised. And I did some consulting work for iCAN. And what I did for them is what I've done for most of my career, and that's build companies. So I helped assemble one of a medical company leveraging cannabis for ocular therapeutics. After that consultation, I was honored and accepted the position to run the incubator. And then PsyTech came across my desk, and its founders were the director of life sciences at iCAN, one of the board of directors, medical advisor at iCAN, and the CEO of iCAN, Saul Kay. And I immediately saw the wisdom of the model, because I was personally involved with what it had done in cannabis. But it was really, and I had my own personal experiences with psychedelics later in my life. I'm in my mid-40s, where I didn't use them in the same recreational manner I did when I was a kid. So I had that motivation, and that really motivated me to do the reading behind the business model. And what struck me was the incredibly compelling nature of the research that's taking place right now. And that's a big difference with cannabis. Anyway, it's rare that you see it's rare that you see something that fulfills all those buzzwords that people use in technology and promotion, paradigm shifting. This truly is that. My personal background professional background is 23 years in biotechnology. Innovation, starting in the mid 90s when we moved to digital management of healthcare, electronic medical records, that sort of thing, image guided surgery, digital radiology. And I was always involved in building up companies. My last company, I had this opportunity to do well and do good. Again, another buzzword. But I had the opportunity to do it for real. I spent 9 years in Africa working on infectious disease diagnostics and big data. And though this company is not at all the same technology business model, it does have that same foundational ethos of doing well and doing good. So the people I loved who were involved with it, the sector is absolutely fascinating and actually does have incredible potential, not just to move psychiatric health and wellness incrementally, but to actually have it take leaps. And then on top of that, we have the opportunity to do well and do good. So I'll stop there, but that's the profile of where PsyTech came from, and I hope I've conveyed what personally motivated me to accept the opportunity to take the helm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned PsyTech Connect is focused on building a community. Could you talk a little bit about what you see is the importance of that community building in this emerging psychedelic space?
Sure. It's new. We are, you can reach for any tired analogy of being at the very beginning of something, the tip of an iceberg, the first few steps of a long journey. They all apply. We are really at the beginning of psychedelics as a sector, of psychedelic destigmatization, of psychedelics in more broadly in society, of psychedelics for serious therapeutics, of psychedelics for health and wellness. All of this is in its early stages. And I've seen this before in smaller scales. But because it's a small group, and I know that this is a large event, and Marek and his team have done a wonderful job filling, 10 days, I believe. But we really are at the beginning. The community is small. We have a chance now to create a community with the kind of vision and ethics that we all can share. And let me unpack that a little bit. This community is very diverse. It's diverse in thought, it's diverse in orientation. You have investors, you have advocates, for-profit, nonprofit, researchers, shamans. It's a remarkably vibrant group. Now is the time to get more organized, more thoughtful in the way we organize our communities, and start with the first principles. The first principles that everybody in these diverse groups actually share. Things like the North Star Pledge is indicative of where I think why I think community is important and where it can go. We have an opportunity to demonstrate that things can be done in a better way than they have been done before when it comes to the intersection of business and medicine, business and wellness, and certainly treat opportunism in a different way. I think to a certain extent, cannabis has suffered because cannabis has suffered because the community wasn't unified in a way that I think we have an opportunity to do.
Yeah, Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure many people are very thrilled to hear that there are increasing people on the side of the organizations and the industry and technology that are keeping that mind open to things like you said that the North Star Pledge brings up, and keeping aware of the lessons learned from cannabis when we're moving forward. Now, we were talking about community, but let's talk a little bit about the PsyTech community and the kinds of people you brought together for your team and even the investors that you've brought together for this venture.
With pleasure. You know, since I just said what I said about cannabis, and as a great appreciator of cannabis, both personally and professionally, I spent the last 3 years of my career in the cannabis sector. Cannabis has also cut the path that psychedelics are following to a certain extent. And a lot of the people on this team come from the cannabis sector. So a few examples. I don't have the time to list everybody in PsyTech, but to a person, I deeply appreciate them all, and they're all here, part of this team, because they believe in the mission that PsyTech has set for itself. So for example, I gave you a bit of my background. Our director of life sciences has a long history in translational science, taking things out of research labs, be they academic or not, and productizing. He's also spent 6 years in cannabis, and we work shoulder to shoulder together, developing good ideas in life sciences into companies. It's also important to point out that that's a basic part of the ethos of PsyTech is we believe that the best way to get the best technology, the best medicines, the best ideas out for the widest use in society is through responsible, ethical commercialization. That's when things get cheaper, reproducible, and accessible. He represents that in his career. He embodies that in his career. Our COO has an entrepreneurial background and spent a decade and a half in the autism space, where she pioneered. She was part of a group that pioneered very successful and novel therapeutics for autism, and then she brought that from the States to Israel, published author. Our director of events was part and parcel of the Canatech events, and anybody who's ever been to those, probably been to 100 conferences in my career, it's a remarkable thing that they pulled together, and part of that is an inexplicable vibe. The entire crew we have working here in Israel and the people we have working in North America are exceptional in their fields, and they also bring a drive and a passion specifically for psychedelics. And I should say that includes our chief community officer, who came from publishing online and one of the most acclaimed brands in cannabis. Our advisors are right now physicians. We're continuing to build our advisory board. But the advisory board are also here because they're passionate and they have a depth of experience. And I can't finish the answer to this question without mentioning our investors, because I've raised a lot of money over the past few years for really good companies: orthopedic surgery, image-guided surgery, infectious disease, and the kind of investors that are attracted to a particular venture tell you something about the venture. At first, the relationship is the other way. But once you acquire a set of investors, you begin to see the patterns amongst them. And our investors are global in presence, ranging from South Africa to Israel, Canada, the United States, Latin America. I hope we have Asia join us as well. And every single one, down to the last men and women, and this includes syndicates and consortiums that have invested in PsyTech. Every single one I've spoken to, and haven't spoken with all of them, cite their own personal therapeutic experiences with PsyTech or miraculous therapeutic experiences that they relate from somebody in their family or friends. Every single one. And that's remarkable. I haven't seen that in any other company I've had the honor of raising money for.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a huge thing in the psychedelic space. I think that's that root thing that draws all of us together, is knowing that we've been changed, or somebody that we love has been changed. And that's what drives us to do this. And I love that you have this mission-driven team working with you. One thing that you mentioned, and we're going to wrap up with this, but you had mentioned your desire to do well and do good. And can you talk a little bit about what that means for you and how that works into the mission of PsyTech?
With pleasure, because as I said at the outset, it's not just I keep finding myself pulling up tired cliches, but again, they apply. It's not just the groundbreaking nature of what these molecules can accomplish for the good of our species. I mean, there's nothing it's remarkable, but again, because we're at the outset of this entire sector, we have the opportunity to show how something can be done. So when I say doing well and doing good, I mean for PsyTech and everybody involved with it, of course, but we also want to contribute to that for the entire community. I think we have the opportunity to demonstrate here that you can take advantage of the unarguably powerful engine for innovation that is capitalism, that is private enterprise, and you can do it in a way that is contributory. And we actually use the term of a virtuous cycle. That doing well and doing good aren't necessarily two separate things. Though I should say we've raised $25,000 just at one event for MAPS, for the veterans groups that are involved, and we're happy to do that. And later on this year, we will be launching the PsyTech Foundation. But I actually mean in the core of the business model, not just that doing well enables you to do good, but that they actually can be one and the same. If your business ventures are chosen well to be contributory and executed with ethics. And again, even though we're a very diverse community, I believe after speaking to so many people in this space that there is a commonality of first principles. You know, even if there's vibrant debate and discussion of, on different subtopics. I've seen heated debates, but at the end of the day, the people are coming with a particular goodwill, people whose eyes have been opened by psychedelics.
Yeah, I wanted to comment too. I've been to
Please.
probably most of your webinars, and there have been a wide range of people. And like you said, there have been some spirited discussions, and I was also there the day that there's the spirited discussion and the $25,000 raise for MAPS. Like, that was quite a coup, and I think you all should be commended for how willing you are to step into that space and say, like, look, I'm going to find the good in that root good in all of you, and let's discuss those things that may be keeping us apart.
It's just the beginning. Well, first of all, thank you. And second of all, it's just the beginning, like it is for the industry. It's just the beginning for us. And we believe firmly the hard conversations are exactly the ones that need to be had. And are exactly the ones that so we're not just here to educate, we're also here to work a lot out together because we're at the beginning. Forgive me for speaking in vagaries. We could go down a rabbit hole of any number of important conversations that need to be had in this space, but that's what PsyTech Connect is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell people where to find out more, where they can find PsyTech and how they can sign up for the upcoming webinars?
Sure. I believe in the chat on here we can post emails and the web links. But if you go to PsyTech.biz, B-I-Z, PSYTECH .biz, I'm also not at all averse to hearing from anybody and everybody. I may forward inquiries to the right people based on the nature of them, but I welcome people to email me directly. We're still a small enough community where that's not an unreasonable thing to say. And my email is my first name, Hayim, Hayim, at psytech.biz. I will say that our next webinar is on the 17th, and it's focused on technology. We're going to have a wonderful panel led by Todd Shapiro, and you can count on two topic-focused webinars a month from us, and stay tuned for the next PsyTech Summit, which is going to be in the fall. We'll be announcing the dates of that shortly, and that will be both a live and a virtual event. In terms of our ventures, PsyTech discovery side of the business, please don't hesitate if you are somebody with an inquiry, an idea, a research institution, or nascent company to reach out to us. At the very least, we have interesting conversations as co-travelers on the same road. At the very most, ventures can be brought into the PsyTech Discovery Incubator, and which our mission would be to move the agenda of those companies forward. So I think that's the best answer I can give. I'm sure when we get off this call, I'll be told I missed something, but we'll put it up in the chat.
I love it. And I'm just going to put in a plug for the PsyTech Summit that occurred 2 weeks ago is available for people to still access. That's going to go up on YouTube. And I wanted to thank you and the PsyTech team for having me and a number of veterans organizations on there to talk about that. So appreciate it very much. And anybody should check that out. Especially, I'm going to put an extra plug for Matthew Johnson, the keynote at the end of day 2. Fantastic speech. But thank you so much, Hayim, for this discussion. And thanks to the Psych team for having us.
Lynn Marie, thank you. And I want to plug your podcast as well. I think the work you do is excellent. Not just the way you do it, but whom you have, the topics you explore, and I appreciate this interview and your involvement in our events.
Thank you so much. All right, thanks, Psych team.
Thanks, y'all. Really appreciate it. Talk to y'all soon.